Palestinian people are not disposable. We are human beings, just like anyone else. My city, my grandmother.
I genuinely pray for the people of Israel, the people of Gaza, the people throughout the world that are now dealing with all of this. But the gentlelady cannot, as a member of Congress,
get to the bottom of what's actually happening in the United States of America. And truth be told, the bottom of what's happening in the United States is that we are making cute narratives that look good for politics.
If you're not busy, hang right here and watch this. Rashida Tlaib rolling out the crocodile tears while Democrats throw around words like fascist, genocide, and white supremacy like confetti, hoping nobody notices the facts shredding their narrative in real time. Roy and Byron Donalds didn't raise their voices, they raised receipts. And suddenly the smear machine started coughing on its own talking points. If you're sick of conservatives getting slandered while terrorists get excuses, hit like, subscribe, and stay right here. Let's watch the full clip before I give you the full breakdown.
Gentleman from Texas is recognized for 4 minutes.
I thank the gentleman from Georgia for his time, and with respect to the gentleman from Maryland, I understand the perspectives with respect to free speech, and I certainly wish to always stand aside the protection of free speech in this country. But this goes well beyond that, because we're not talking about restraining the gentlelady from Michigan's ability to speak as an American citizen. We're not talking about punishing her, putting her in jail. What we're talking about is whether a member of the United States House of Representatives, whether a member of this body representing this nation is justified in putting forward a defense of the actions of Hamas terrorists that murdered innocent Israeli citizens, is holding United States citizens and Israelis hostage, and in her own language was defending on October 8th, a mere 24 hours into the brutal and barbaric attacks in which babies were beheaded, babies were placed into ovens, literally. Moms were raped in a house while their babies were put in an oven. A documented account, video evidence, and this is dismissed as resistance to an apartheid state. My problem is that the gentlelady is also referring to, quote, Joe Biden supporting the genocide of the Palestinian people. The gentlelady has put forward that by virtue of the United States of America funding in solidarity the people of Israel in defense of their right to exist, that by virtue of our position as Americans, standing in front of that flag in this chamber representing 330 million Americans, that by funding and supporting Israel, we are somehow perpetuating the call for violence that we saw unfold right before our eyes on October 7th in the most brutal and heinous acts that some of us have ever seen. I do not doubt the gentlelady's sincerity of her concern for her home people and concerns about the attacks on the people of Gaza. I had some people who called into question that I would put out my public support for my former colleague, Justin Amash, who lost cousins in a church, receiving missile fire into a building next to a church. I genuinely pray for the people of Israel, the people of Gaza, the people throughout the world that are now dealing with all of this. But the gentlelady cannot, as a member of Congress, be standing up and telling the world that what we saw unfold in attacking Israel is justified. We can't. Free speech matters. I have grave concern right now about where this institution is going with respect to censures. I voted against the censure last week because I thought it had drafting problems, and I thought it had significant concerns it raised. I believe the work that was done by my friend from Georgia here put forward a resolution that is worthy of support. And so I support the resolution and believe that we should pass it. I thank the gentleman from Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Never a dull moment in this subcommittee. I will always say that. Let's go through a couple things. First, yeah, look, if you go back to the Buffalo shooter, which was awful for all reasons considered. Did he cite replacement theory? Yeah, he did. Did he also cite socialist theories? He most definitely did. Did he target black people? 100% he did. So if you combine all of the issues with the Buffalo shooter, you had somebody who wanted to kill black people. Obviously, that's a white supremacist move. That was his whole focus. But he also espoused ideals from the left wing of politics. Both things can occur at the same time, and they did in the Buffalo shooting. And I think the thing that's most frustrating in hearings like this is because the supposition from my colleagues is that if you are a white supremacist and all at the same time you're also somehow on the right side of politics, the Buffalo shooter actually demonstrates that's not true. That's actually not true. White supremacy is awful. Nobody should be defending it. It should always be denounced. But we also have to be careful not to just conveniently circle together our political opponents so that it makes us look good in narratives and press clippings, in hearings, or when you go to ask people for their votes in elections. We do have an issue in the United States with domestic terrorist violence. There is an issue, but it's across the political spectrum. Even the FBI, and we got some questions that we need to ask them about other things going on in the United States, but even the FBI does not categorize domestic violence based upon political viewpoints. They do not do that. I wish the news media would report it, but the FBI does not categorize it based upon political thoughts. They categorize it based purely on the violence that people inflict. These are key conditions that we have to understand if we're going to have real hearings about what must be, quote unquote, done in the United States. One other point I have to bring up, and this is with respect to my colleague who just cited the point about white supremacy infiltrating law enforcement from a report back in 2006. On October 24th, 2022, the FBI submitted to this committee, and I quote, "The FBI does not have information to support the assessment that these individuals are broadly representative of the hundreds of thousands of sworn law enforcement officers operating in the U.S. across nearly 20,000 federal, state, county, and local agencies, and available FBI reporting has not revealed an infiltration of law enforcement." The FBI said that 2 months ago. So are we going to sit here and just try to create these cute little narratives that sound good politically, or are we going to get to the bottom of what's actually happening in the United States of America? And truth be told, the bottom of what's happening in the United States is that we are making cute narratives that look good for politics and sound good in press clippings, and we are not being honest about all of the various factors that are happening in the United States, namely a major social media problem. We know about the Twitter files. Let me give you guys a preview. We're going to be talking about that in the 118th Congress. Real quick before my time expires. Because when these issues flare up in our politics and in our country, we have to be careful not to quickly assign blame to one group or another group or one side of the political aisle or another side of the political aisle. We have to get to the facts. And there's actually demonstration of that right here in this hearing. Ms. Caraballo, on page 12 and 13 of your written testimony, you painted concerned parents as having been infiltrated by white nationalists and far-right militia groups, which played a significant role in school board protests. This has not actually been my experience with concerned parents. In your testimony, you wrote that in Loudoun County, Virginia, unfounded rumors that spread in local parent groups on Facebook about an alleged trans student sexually assaulting a girl in a bathroom led to a firestorm of several heated school board protests that descended into violence. But in fact, the perpetrator, it actually turned out, had committed 2 sexual assaults at 2 different Loudoun County schools in 2021 and was arrested on October 7th, 2021.
Now that you've seen the full hearing, there's no way around it. Roy and Byron Donalds were absolutely right, and the left completely imploded under their own rhetoric. This wasn't about free speech being threatened. Nobody was talking about jailing anyone or silencing dissent. This was about something far more basic: whether a sitting member of Congress should be allowed to justify, minimize, or excuse the actions of Hamas terrorists who butchered civilians, murdered babies, raped women, and took hostages. And the fact that this even had to be debated is insane. What Roy did was draw a moral line that Democrats keep trying to erase. You can care about innocent people in Gaza without calling terrorism resistance. You can criticize policy without accusing the United States and Israel of genocide. But instead of doing that, the left defaulted to the same tired move. Smear America, smear Israel, smear anyone who refuses to play along. Standing under the American flag and claiming that supporting Israel's right to exist somehow makes Americans complicit in violence is not bravery. It's disgraceful. And then came the second act, where Byron Donalds calmly dismantled another favorite Democrat lie, that all political violence magically belongs to the right. He pointed out something the media never wants to admit. Evil doesn't wear a party label. The Buffalo shooter didn't just cite right-wing garbage. He also cited left-wing ideology. Violence is violence, and the FBI itself admits it does not categorize domestic terrorism by political ideology. But facts don't trend as well as fear, so Democrats keep pretending otherwise. Roy completely buried the narrative about white supremacy, infiltrating law enforcement too. The FBI flat out said they have no evidence of widespread infiltration. That's not a conservative opinion. That's the FBI's own testimony. Yet Democrats keep recycling a 2006 talking point like it's gospel, because it's useful for scaring voters and smearing parents, police officers, and anyone who dares question them. And that Loudoun County example? That wasn't misinformation, it was reality. A real crime, real victims, and real parents who were right to be concerned, all brushed aside so Democrats could label them extremists. That's the pattern. Ignore facts, push narratives, and hope nobody reads past the headline. What Roy and Donalds did in this hearing was exactly what Republicans need to keep doing. They didn't apologize. They didn't play defense. They forced the truth into the open and let the left unravel on camera. This wasn't just a hearing. It was a warning sign of how desperate the smear tactics have become, and proof that there are still conservatives in Congress willing to fight back without flinching.
I can't believe I have to say this,